So there is a demented old man who is currently destroying the greatest country on earth. And I just thought we'd go through some of it because why not? Why not just have a look at like how our greatest and closest ally is cratering as fast as they can straight into the floor, just like his approval ratings, incidentally, and just see just how bad it is and how weak the lies in his defense have become. Because it is remarkable just how paper thin the narratives that are trying to defend him are. But before we start, if you want to support us, go over to lotus.com and enjoy this new book club that we've done of the Ahuman Manifesto by Patricia McCormick. I had a lot of fun doing this because this is absolutely bonkers. Basically, it's a manifesto. It's 192 pages that could be summarized in the words, kill yourself. And that's addressed not to any individual, that's addressed to humanity collectively.
Was it like working in a psych ward?
Oh no, it's way worse than that. Like this is a very calm and reasoned manifesto as to why you should in fact kill yourself as a species. And the reason this matters, though, the reason this is pertinent to what we're talking about now, is because Biden's entire agenda is based on this philosophy that human beings are the problem for the planet, for nature, for the universe itself. And so really, wouldn't it be better for all life if we're going to do a moral calculus of like, you know, the grand total of suffering in the universe? Well, humans are causing all of this suffering, you see. And so, I mean, since all suffering in the universe is confined to the Earth, we can just use that as our basic metric of consideration. So the Earth is suffering because of, you know, climate change, global warming, pollution, and then you've got wars and violence, and then you've got the vegan agenda, the enslaved animals that are suffering every day so you can eat a juicy steak. It's like, look, it's just right that for the collective suffering of the Earth, mankind just die. That's the point of this book, and it is glorious to read. It is so funny. I can't recommend it highly enough, but that's Biden's position. And so this is basically why Biden's like, right, the US has got to die, because the US, being the most successful country on the earth, well, that's the pinnacle of human achievement so far, as someone who is anti-human might say. And they'd be like, well, this needs to go. Look at this industrial powerhouse that's consuming the world's resources at the very top of this pyramid. If we can take out that, then the whole thing crumbles and mankind will eventually die out and it'll be glorious. So the first thing to do is, of course, punish people who are doing the right thing. Let's go through a few of these. So you remember a couple of years ago, the border agents at the Texas border were intercepting illegal immigrants from Haiti. Don't know how they arrived there.
They
long
swam,
swam, yeah, long swim.
Was it the Texan coastline they arrived at?
Yeah. But I don't know why they're fleeing from Haiti either. I mean, this is the glorious revolution against the white oppressor. So why do you want to end up in a country that's a white supremacy? I have been reliably informed by left-wing activists.
They don't even have dirt cookies in the United States. What do you
No,
mean?
exactly. Why are you going there? But anyway, the evil Border Patrol were like brilliant black people. Whoosh, we didn't treat them as slaves and went around whipping them, according to the media. Now, that's not what happened, but that doesn't matter.
I love how it you know, someone clearly in New York just made that up.
Yeah, as if people in Texas don't know what a black person is.
Like, I bet the guys in Texas are just whipping them. It was like, should we print that? Yeah.
Wait, that's literally what was alleged.
I mean, it's like a Babylon Bee article where they just sat around in the boardroom, made something up, like, and the Border Patrol agents started shouting just like my grandpappy used to do. Yeah, presumably.
He broke out the switch, and that was it. And Joe Biden heard about this and was like, "Well, they're going to have to pay." And the Border Patrol was just like, "What?" Because I mean, if you can go back up to the pictures, you can see that it was the horse's reins that was being misrepresented as a whip.
That's not a cat and nine tails?
That's not, no. That's actually not. And you can see he's not actually lassoing him. He's reaching out to grab him. And he is an illegal immigrant, so he should be detained.
I imagine leftists think the border is essentially Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah.
Just people running around with lassos, just picking people up.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Not people, black people.
Of
so
course.
White agents are lassoing black people, and therefore racism, right? And so the border agents had been investigated, cleared of any wrongdoing, because they didn't do anything wrong. But that didn't matter because Joe Biden had committed. I mean, Maxine Waters, the most sane Democrat in America, said, quote, "This was worse than what we'd witnessed in slavery."
Do we need to say anything to that?
No,
I feel like that does itself.
Yeah,
justice,
I think that says everything. And after hearing this, I suppose, Joe Biden was like, well, those people will pay. And so without any evidence or due process, Joe Biden was like, yeah, I'm going to get those Border Patrol agents. It's like, mate, they're your Border Patrol agents. They're yours. They are part of the United States like governmental apparatus. You pay for them. But
just imagine Maxine Waters, like she spills her drink and she's like, "Well, this is the Holocaust."
But the journalist who took the pictures that were being misrepresented is a man called Paul Ratche, and he had to come out and say, "Look, there was no one whipping anyone. I didn't see them whip anyone with anything.
Nor did you.
And I was taking the photos that you were using to claim that people were being whipped." It's obviously not true. But anyway, so you think, okay, well, that obviously got dropped after they were investigated, found they did nothing wrong. The person who took the photos, they're claiming being whipped, are the people, is the person exonerating them? No, not at all. Biden's going to carry on with this for some reason.
Who's he going to punish?
The people who didn't whip anyone. That's who he's going to punish.
What, every American?
Biden's Department of Homeland Security is preparing to discipline the Border Patrol agents involved in the purported whipping accident incident last year on the Rio Grande, which Nevada's newly minted Republican Senate nominee called a despicable failure to acknowledge reality. I mean, it is.
You should have been whipping them, damn it.
Yeah, but look at this insane person who is in charge. For now, he's committed to the virtue signal, even though that wasn't true, and so now you are going to have to get in trouble, right? So this is just incredible, right? So, I mean, the former Nevada State Attorney General, Adam Laxalt, was like, this is absolutely despicable that they would do this. We all know that we have an open border, and I can tell you that in Nevada, it's one of our top issues. People cannot believe this administration is doing such a terrible job. They are fed up with these kind of lies, and that's probably true. I imagine there are a lot of people who are fed up with these kinds of lies because this is an open lie, and Biden's committing to punishing people for nothing, right? But the worst part is, when they file their lawsuit against this, if you can get to the next one, in this lawsuit, the Biden administration lawyers, quote, argue the agents did not treat the Haitians any differently to any other group of immigrants. So in their own lawsuit about this, they're not even arguing that they did anything wrong. In its motion to dismiss, the Biden administration said that Haitian migrants could not prove they sustained any actual or imminent injury as a result of the Border Patrol's actions. Biden's counsel also rebuked claims of discrimination, saying the administration had not treated plaintiffs differently on the basis of race or nationality. So Biden was like, oh, they're going to pay for this. So he gets his lawyers to file something, and they're like, yeah, well, they didn't whip them and they didn't discriminate against them because of their race.
Do you reckon the lawyers are just doing it because he's told them to? So they're like,
yes,
we've got to do it.
We've got to file something.
But we'll make it as bad as possible.
Well,
because there's nothing that's happened.
The lawyers have got to be like, well, I can't just lie. I'm not the president. I can't just go on TV and lie about it.
I'll get, what is it, debarred or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing will happen to Joe Biden over these lies. But so understandably, the patrol agents are just not happy about this at all. I mean, you can go to the next one. Just furious is the term that's being used in multiple news sources to describe this, but they're probably also furious that there just isn't a southern border anymore. There just isn't one, right? If you get to the next one, 239,000 migrants crossed the southwest border into the US in May. 1 month. You can see it by month. It's somewhere, like in 2019, it's like 50K to 100K, 150K. But then this year, you can see it's just like going up to 250K roughly a month. And it's just like, it's hundreds of thousands per month coming over the US border. Because Biden has basically been like, yeah, screw your border. The Border Patrol agents are racist. We're going to punish them for not whipping the Haitians.
I mean, you've said it before. You can see it in real time, though. Just the moment Biden is inaugurated,
yeah,
the January on the blue line there, it spikes and then just keeps going.
Yeah.
Just keeps going.
Yeah. And it's now at record levels. And so there isn't a southern border now. But anyway, so then moving on, what else is Biden doing to ruin the United States other than just, allowing everyone on Earth to live there? Well, he's lying about the petrol prices, obviously. Gas prices, as Americans would call it. There's been a big rearguard action by, we'll just call it the left-wing media, the mainstream media, the establishment media on this. And it's embarrassing because everyone can see that this is a consequence of Biden. As CNN, quote, one professor of business administration and public policy at the University of California, Berkeley, so not someone from a red state or anything, to get their opinion on this. No. We go to the Californian universities. At this point, there is no plausible connection between Biden becoming president and increasing gasoline prices, says Severin Borenstein. Thank you, Mr. Boren, or Dr. Borenstein. Thank you for that brilliant input. I mean, there is what the New York Post have compiled for us, a quick and dirty list of, well, maybe it's something that Biden has done, and maybe Biden just keeps saying he's going to do this as well. while he does it.
He did it on the campaign trail.
Yes, that's
This is a promise made and a promise kept, friends.
that is exactly true. You can't say that he's not fulfilling his promises. When Biden was running for president, he promised to shut down oil producers. No ability for the oil industry to continue to drill, period, he pledged. And he pledged to put the country on an irreversible path to doing away with fossil fuels. You're going quite far down that road, Biden. I mean, like you say, at the end of the day, you might have been lying about the other thing, but you're at least, you've got the courage of your convictions on day one.
Well, no, it's actually somewhat. I am a little, as terrible as it is.
I can respect what he's doing when he said he would do.
I am slightly pleased that the people who are obsessed with this ideological perspective on energy, like they don't do it because of serious cares about how the world should work, but instead an ideological perspective. I'm kind of glad they're getting their comeuppance here. The fact that you are getting the payment that you so desperately wanted.
Absolutely. But notice the perspective. It's not for what is good for the American people. What is good for human beings.
No.
And, low oil prices is good for human beings.
For Gaia.
It's for Gaia. That's exactly the right way of framing it. Anyway, they say on day one as president, Biden shut down the Keystone Pipeline, sending the message of no new pipelines anywhere, period. In the months that followed, he stopped all sales of leases to drill on federal lands or offshore, meaning zero new leases allowing oil to be brought out of the ground. And this is what Jen Psaki was lying about before she left the position of perpetual permanent liar to the media. And in September, House Democrats introduced legislation to stop banks from lending money or investing capital for new or expanded fossil fuel production. That legislation hasn't passed, but it sent a clear message. The oil industry is being shut down. Biden actually confessed his plan 6 weeks ago, when gas was already $4 a gallon. He marveled at the incredible transition of the US economy away from fossil fuels. God willing, when it's over, we'll be less reliant on fossil fuels. Whose fault is this?
I mean, people should start making fake adverts for the Democratic Party. Promises made, promises kept, and it's just like, we destroyed the oil industry.
We said we were going to, and there we are.
There you have it.
And the FTC has concluded several times that gas prices are a result of market conditions, not illegalities. Rising demand and inadequate supply. CNN are like, well, there's just no proof of it. And of course, you've got Biden basically threatening the oil companies as well with the use of emergency powers. If American oil companies don't increase output of their refineries, it's like, well, maybe if you weren't so fixed on whittling the industry down to nothing, they would have been able to do that, like they were under Trump. It's like for some reason, he thinks they hate profit.
I mean, I did see him arguing about this on, the Jimmy Kimmel show, or whatever. And his argument was that...
How embarrassing.
Yeah, they're actually... The oil companies are trying to keep the price high on purpose to try and screw over the American people. It's like they're doing it to harm me. And it's like, what? Like, why would they not want to make more money?
It's like he doesn't understand that if you sell 1,000 units at $10 or 100,000 units at $3, you make a lot more money selling the 100,000 units. It's like you just don't.
Presumably he doesn't.
Well, I don't see why he would. He's a bloody Democrat. But anyway, he as you say, he blames the oil companies for this. And I've got a great quote because he sent a series of letters to oil CEOs on Wednesday demanding they increase output. It's like, well, you could sign more drilling off if you wanted. But no, you're placing all of the blame on these oil CEOs who I'm sure are like, no, I don't want to drill for oil. What do you think I do? Run an oil company? Like...
My passion isn't origami.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be bad for the environment, wouldn't it, Joe? Yeah. But he says this, quote, "There is no question that Vladimir Putin is principally responsible for the intense financial pain the American people and their families are bearing," Biden wrote. "But amid a war that has raised gasoline prices more than $1.70 per gallon, historically high refinery profit marginings are worsening that pain." That's right. Vladimir Putin is responsible for this.
I mean, it just hurts to listen to, doesn't it?
It's such a transparent lie. Why didn't Vladimir Putin do it when Trump was in charge? Putin has been in charge of Russia for decades now. Why didn't he do it at any other point until you got into office and shut down all the oil drilling? Like, why didn't he do it before then? Why was it contingent on you shutting down all this stuff? Anyway, let's get into the Putin price hike, because this is, of course, what Joe Biden has loved to call this. And even Yahoo, mainstream, usually cooperative sources are like, well, that's kind of not true, is it? Vladimir Putin isn't the one responsible for printing dollars, Joe. I mean, you probably would outsource it to him if you could. When Joe Biden took the oath of office in January 2021, the consumer price index was 1.4% higher than it had been 12 months earlier. because of COVID and lockdowns. A month later, inflation had bumped that to 1.7. Above April, and by April, it was above 4%, and then 5% in June, 6% in October, 7% in December. Not good. By January 20th, 2022, it was 7.5%. So Biden's first anniversary as president. More than a month later, so there we go, right? So Biden's first year of presidency, it literally is like 6 times higher than when he came in, okay? Then Vladimir Putin launches his invasion of Ukraine in February. How do you explain the Putin price hike before the invasion? Joe, just out of interest.
It's pre-Putin. You know, like COVID, you've got post-COVID, you've got pre-Putin as well.
I guess you do. And so inflation is now in America 8.5%, a 40-year high. As the Dispatch observed on Thursday, Muhammad Ali was still boxing the last time a CPI report was this bad. The White House blames the cost of soaring goods and services in the war in Ukraine. Putin's price hike, the president and his spokespeople call it. Again, it's so transparently not true.
I mean, I remember, I think it was with Nick, we went through just the specific things that United States Federal Reserve or the United States government did to print all the dollary dues.
Well, we'll go through that in a second.
The specific one, but it's just the idea that if you say that Putin is in charge of that, I mean, I know that all the memes about Putin hacking every election on Earth, but then he's also controlling the Senate and the House and everyone else.
Why
and
did you
making them
give
pass
him
these things.
the keys to the Federal Reserve? Because, I mean, he didn't take that, right? But anyway, so they say, but inflation has been accelerating through Biden's presidency. It was already at its highest level in more than a generation when the Ukraine invasion began. Russia's dictator is guilty of many crimes, but the dwindling purchase power of the American dollar is one outrage that can't be laid at his feet. Duh. And Fox Business just give us the details on this. Inflation, as we learned from our elementary school economics textbooks, is too many dollars chasing too few goods. And so they just explain what Biden has done. Firstly, the 3 massive spending bills flushed the economy this year already and mostly financed with debt. The $1.9 trillion blue state bailout bill, the $1.2 trillion infrastructure green energy bill, and then the $1 trillion COVID relief bill. Where's this inflation coming from? No idea. An economist called Larry Summers, who served in both the Clinton and Obama administrations, accurately predicted, so this would be a far-right, Republican, evil economist that Fox would quote, these trillions of extra dollars sloshing around in the economy would raise inflation much more than President Biden or the Fed. Yeah.
Print money. Money worth less.
Don't know why I have to explain that. Again, it's just basic supply and demand value. If I have 5 things and people are like, oh, that sounds really good, I'll pay $50 for those things. And then I have 500 of those things, people are like, why am I going to have to pay $50? I'm not going to do it. I'm going to have to pay. Anyway, moving on. Biden himself, though, as I said, he was a demented old man, and I mean it. There are so many examples at this point of Biden just being unable to finish sentences. Now, I appreciate that there are a lot of people like, well, Trump isn't exactly the greatest speaker. It's like, no, that's true.
Everyone messes up every now and again.
Yep.
But it's multiple times per minute is worse.
And literally just to end on like long pauses and then go, nah, I've lost that train of thought. It's just gone. It's just gone. And I mean, it keeps happening. Like just over and over. Let's go to the next one. And again, this has been happening for the last, his entire time in office, incidentally, even like 2021, where he just keeps flubbing stuff over and over, and he just can't pronounce things. And like, if you get to the next one, the kleptocracy one was hilarious as well. I mean, I could play you a collection of these because there are loads of compilations of him literally not being able to speak and blubbering something for 30 seconds. You're just like, I don't understand a word of what he said there. But it's just, he's degenerating in real time, and it's genuinely embarrassing. But then you get is he even walking around properly? He keeps standing around lost and then falling upstairs. This is from the one in 2021. It happened again the other day in 2022 where he's just stumbling around. It's like, okay, look, this degenerating old man with a crazy agenda, an anti-human agenda, is genuinely driving this country into the ground. And so, okay, well, if you are a Biden partisan in the media, what do you do? What do you do?
Don't worry, he'll be gone soon.
No. No, because he's vowed to run in 2024.
Well, that's the thing. If he was 7 years in...
81 million votes, folks. I mean...
If you're 7 years in and you start fumbling every word you ever say and you can't
Fair
walk,
enough.
you'd be like, all right, he's going soon. Don't worry about it. Just vote Democrat, right? And but when you're a couple years in and it's as transparent
couple
as
of
it
years
was...
in the first term, and he's promised to be there for the second term. You get to the next one, you see it's literally leave Joe Biden alone meme. I mean, this isn't a fake article either. This is a real article.
Is the image real?
No, the image isn't real. That's
expecting
John's meme. But that's basically what this is. If we can go to the article, they've just got this quote. I think he's done a pretty good job, especially given the fact that he's dealing with a pandemic, revelations about an American attempted coup d'etat, and an economic slowdown over which he had no control.
Nothing he could have done. If only there was someone who could have done something to influence legislation in the United States. Anyone, Superman, presumably.
If only someone hadn't spent all that time trying to stop oil production in the United States. Or stop signing those bills that printed trillions and trillions of dollars.
Don't worry, that's got Putin's signature, not his. So
Yeah.
can't blame him.
But thankfully, the one upshot of all of this, the American public are becoming very, very aware who is the problem in the United States. And they know that it's Joe Biden. And so he is now finally, despite having North Korean levels of media support, finally less popular than Donald Trump, who had the opposite of North Korean levels of popular support in the media. Joe Biden's ratings are now only at 39.7%. 39.7% of America think he's doing a good job.
I mean, frankly, I'm amazed it's that high.
Yes. Like, literally, over a third of the country are like, yeah, he's going pretty well. It's like, really, what planet do you live on?
I mean, I'm imagining the little dog just sat there with fire all around with a Joe Biden shirt and a cap on. Just says, please be patient.
And this is fine. And so, but I mean, as these things, because I mean, America's got the vast partisan divide between 2/3 of the country. And so, like, the third of it's whittling down to just the partisan Democrats who are just like, no, everything's great, shut up. Really gritting their teeth as they say it. It's something like 54% are against as well. So it's quite bad. It's not even like there's a large portion of people like, nah, I just don't care. No, everyone thinks it sucks. Bring back the orange man, basically. But that's how Joe Biden is just destroying America. There's no question of it.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed that segment from the podcast Lotus Eaters, you can become a member and find all of our premium content on lotuseaters.com, including the latest book club number 30 on Dr. G.J. Rainier's The English Are They Human, which was done by Carl and our guest Mega Verma. If you're interested in finding Carl on social media, you can follow him on Getter at Carl Benjamin. Thank you and goodbye.